Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. The officer was writing me a ticket, and I was good with it. This just happened. What is today? Monday? Oh, this just happened yesterday. Yeah. In fact, as he's telling me the reason why he's giving me the ticket, I'm thinking to myself, I'm good with it because I would do this all over again. That was the question I asked myself. Would I do this again? And the answer was yes. So I had to be okay with the outcome. By the way, he didn't give me the ticket. He actually just gave me a warning. The park was so crowded, I had to park on the grass. I'll get to that in just a moment. But what was it that kept me from going, okay, great. Points against my license? What am I going to need to do? Am I going to have to get a lawyer? How much is this going to cost me? What made the difference between I earned that ticket and I would so do it again, and going into a spiral of being ticked off for about 10 minutes? Some people, it takes even longer before they're able to process what they've got going on. That's what I want to share with you today, is how powerful would you be? How powerful could you be if you were actually happy? But to be able to get to that, we need to know what happiness really is. And then once we understand what it is, how do you get more of it? And then how will others use it against you to actually control you? Okay. So I went to the park yesterday to go walking with a friend. We typically walk every single week, but haven't been able to because of this virus bug, right? And so we're finally getting back together again. And they had decided on the parking lots at the park we typically meet at to cut the parking lot down by half to try to limit the people that were coming in. Yeah. When I'm talking to the cop who was giving me the warning, he was actually telling me that he had worked for this particular park for 10 years. He had never seen this many people before. Yeah. So telling people that they can't come in because there's limited space, you already know there's a part of you going, you're not going to tell me what to do. I have control over my destiny, and I'm going to do what I gosh darn please. So people were parking on the grass. I parked right along with them. I knew I wasn't supposed to do it, and I chose to do it anyway because I figured that the whatever damage, it would be minimal. You got to do risk mitigation. You got to ask yourself, are you willing to take that kind of risk? And if the risk goes south, are you willing to pay the price? And that's what leads us to happiness. What is happiness? Happiness is not joy. You are actually genetically wired for joy. You're genetically wired to feel good. Happiness, though, is an earned emotional state. It comes from a group of emotions that are known as to satisfy or satisfaction. Think of the word satisfaction. You've got a word action in there. So to be happy means that you're solving a problem in a way to where if there is going to be a price you're going to have to pay, you're willing to pay the price. That's what happiness comes from. Now, the higher quality problem you resolve, the higher quality your life is going to be, because now status comes into it. We have what's known as 5 motivators. These are the things that keep us propelling and moving and almost like our goals are pulling us towards them. So we've got 5 motivators, but those motivators can also be turned on for pain avoidance. And when you're doing that, ouch, because now you're leading a very low quality life. Why is that? Because you're solving low quality problems. Okay. So status comes into play. And the only way we feel that we can have status, which is the number one predictor of your happiness, status comes through comparison. You know, when they talk about keeping up with the Joneses, that is a form of status. But then there's the problem is you're comparing yourself against someone or something else instead of comparing yourself against you, your standards, your expectations. Are you willing to take the risk? Are you're going to see what's going to happen next? So true status has to come from you comparing yourself from who you were and what you were doing yesterday and saying, where's the increments of improvement? I don't care if they're small or large. I'm just looking for improvement. And once I experienced that improvement, did I feel it was worth the risk and would I do it again? There's something known as zero-based thinking. Zero-based thinking says once you're in a situation, you're asking yourself, okay, did I get what I want? And would I do it again? And if I wouldn't do it again, what do I need to do for the future to be able to improve it? That's the reason why whenever I was getting the ticket and I went up to the officer and went, you're right, I deserve this ticket. That is a mind tactic to get into agreement with someone. And he's like, no, it's just a warning. You know, we can't have people tearing up the grass. And I'm like, I get it. Now, would I park on the grass again? No, evidently I am going to have to show up a half hour early to get a parking space if people continue to use the great outdoors like this, because they've discovered being locked up what they truly value. Now, you are either going to live a life of your values or you're going to live a life of someone else's. And it's going to be based on this one thing that I want you to get out of this. But you know, before I get to the one thing that can dramatically improve your life, let me ask you this. How many times do you think you're going to get overwhelmed this week? How many times do you have breakdowns? How many times do you think you're going to get emotionally flooded? How many times do you think panic and anxiety is going to show up? How many times do you think you're going to let yourself down, disappoint yourself, and continue to stay stuck and struggling with where you are? Because here's what the latest psychological papers are telling us, which is something that I've been sharing for years. They just keep doing tests to make sure that it's still there, and it is. Whoever controls the questions controls the emotions, and whoever controls the emotions controls the outcome of the person. What does that mean? Just by me asking you those questions, I increased your ability to be emotionally flooded, angry, upset, overwhelmed, panicked, stressed, sad, and you're going, oh, thanks a lot, Dawn. Really appreciate it. Yeah, like I need any assistance with this. Me asking those questions and already turning on your challenges for this week are nothing compared to what you do to yourself. You ask yourself these kinds of questions every single day. In fact, every time you experience an emotion, you ask yourself the questions, what does this mean? What does this mean about me? How do I avoid this, or how do I amplify it? So what does this mean? Is it in agreement or alignment with my values? That's the reason why I could look at that cop and go, I deserve the ticket, because I knew I broke the law. What does this mean about me? Was I willing to take the risk? Now, how am I going to avoid or amplify? That's zero-based thinking. Moving forward, would we do it again? So you ask yourself these questions all day long, every time you go into an emotional state. But if you have preloaded the question, to actually hold yourself back. If you have preloaded the question of, yeah, how many times is this going to screw up on me? How many times am I going to be let down? How many times is this person not going to be who I need them to be? How many times is this situation going to lead me to disappointment? You've handed your power away. You're giving it to those other people, places, and things, and you're saying, you got to change until I can be okay. And that is not the way it works. You have to start asking yourself questions of empowerment. You have to ask yourself questions of, if I would do this again, was it worth the risk? If not, how can I begin to upgrade it so it is worth the risk? Happiness has to be earned, and it can only be earned by you taking action. But you're going to take action of either avoidance or amplification based on the questions you ask yourself. So how powerful would you be if you were actually happy? And happy comes from solving high quality problems, which is the reason why I found a parking space. I was happy for a few minutes and then it faded away. But when I work with a client and I help them with a breakthrough that is absolutely massive, I can stay happy for about approximately 91 minutes, because that's how long it lasts. And then my mind's going, what's the next high quality situation that we can assist with? What's the next high quality area of our life that I need to be looking at and bringing myself out at my very best? Whoever asks the questions controls the emotions. And whoever controls the emotions controls the outcome. You will be asked questions right now. How many more people do you think are going to get sick? How many more people do you think could possibly die from this pandemic? How many more people are going to riot? How many protests are going to go south and people are going to get hurt? And as soon as they turn on those questions and you start answering them, they're playing you for your emotions. And now they get to control you and your outcome. Remember what I told you? Me just asking, how many times do you think you're going to get stressed out, overwhelmed, emotionally flooded, and cannot handle things has increased the likelihood of those very things happening for you. But what I asked you has nothing to do. It is minuscule compared with what you ask yourself in a way that keeps you stuck in pain. How powerful would you be if you decided to be happy by resolving high quality problems? By the way, status is just one out of the 5 motivators, and you've always got to be looking at improving your status of who you were yesterday. This is the reason why athletes keep track of their times, their distance. It's why people in business keep track of the sales and the money. What are you keeping track of? How many times somebody has offended you or hurt you? Or how many times you actually used it to bring you out at your very best? Because the triggers aren't going to go away. The triggers will stay there. You have to give the trigger a new meaning. So if I can assist you with this, I'm going to give you a couple of different options, because again, that person, place, or thing is not going to go away. It is how you begin to reprogram yourself around that person, place, or thing when they trigger you for them to control you. Well, the first thing you can do is go to my webpage, canhypnosishelpyou.com. and see if the potential of us working together in a session makes sense, to where I actually take those triggers and we give them new meaning. So when they show up, you're asking yourself the questions that are going to lead to happiness, because you're taking action on bringing yourself out at your very best. The other option I'm going to give you is go to drewdawnferguson.com/SOS S stands for Summer of Success. You're going to see a program that you can have immediate access to that trains you on the 5 motivators. It was a program that I did recently for a group of therapists. There's a doctor there, there's a lawyer there, everybody who is interested in helping their clients live a high quality life. So why should only those types of professionals have access to this? Why can't you do it for yourself? That's why I'm giving you access. And I'm going to give you a special savings, a savings of $50. But to get those savings, you're going to have to put in the coupon box the word ask, ASX. No, oh my gosh, ASK. So ask, because it's all about asking better questions to get better results. So drewdawnferguson.com/SOS stands for Summer of Success. And then put in ASK to be able to get that special savings, and that's only going to be for a few days. Okay, so let's put this all together in your plan of action. Status leads to happiness. You have to see an improvement. Whatever risk you took had to be worth it, and you always want to ask yourself whenever you put yourself in a challenging situation, zero-based thinking. If I had to do this again, would I do it the same way? If not, how would I do it better? When you feel like you are being triggered by somebody else asking the questions, you want to ask yourself, how can these questions bring yourself out at your very best? And step number 3, every time you notice you're in an emotional state, it doesn't matter what that emotional state is, progress or pain avoidance. Ask yourself, how can I actually use this to amplify my brilliance, bringing myself out at my very best? Because whoever asks the questions controls the emotions, and whoever controls the emotions controls the outcome. Don't you think it's time that you were put in charge of your own life? Okay. Until we get together again, blessings on your brilliance. And I look forward to hearing about you turning your light on even brighter. Bye now.